On the morning of the event at Ladbroke Grove, I remember coming into work. I was just after 8 o'clock and I was about to prepare for the day's sessions down at the training unit. And it must have been about 8:45 when we got the message that there'd been an incident, a train incident at Ladbroke Grove. And at that particular time we had somewhere in the region of about 15 to 20 officers based within the training department doing different courses, and at that particular juncture I offered up the services of myself and those officers to be deployed down to the scene at Ladbroke Grove. Back in 1999, my role within the British Transport Police was as the training manager on London Underground Training Department. I managed the department who were responsible for delivering training for probationers, but also other training courses, including major incidents.
I was a police officer. I retired under ill health in 2004. I now work for the event planning unit over the B Division Operations Department. I have been, since I retired, been with Force Headquarters. At the time of Ladbroke Grove, I was on the London North COU as a search team leader.
As you can imagine, the radio was alive with lots of calls coming from the scene. There was lots of activity on the radio, lots of information coming through that this was a very, very serious incident. There was apparently carnage at the scene. The train was on fire. Something that was bigger than anything that we probably were used to dealing with at that particular time. So there was an awful lot going on in my head about what I was about to face. We knew that there were lots of casualties from what was coming across on the radio, but at this particular juncture in time we didn't know how badly those casualties were and how many people had died at the scene.
The last one before that was Southall, and there was a couple of other small instances on railways where running the buffers and stuff like that. No one expected. We heard of a train crash. The issue was a train crash, and that was it. At Ladbroke Grove, we got definite directions en route. I mean, we didn't know what to expect upon driving there. I mean, I was a driver of the carrier, and we had no idea what to expect when we arrived on scene. Not to the extent of what we saw anyway. Nowhere near that much.
When I arrived at Ladbroke Grove, I was tasked to go down to the scene itself and liaise with Inspector Willie Baker. Willie Baker was the first senior officer on the scene at that particular time. He was an inspector and he was running the inner cordon at that particular time on my arrival. I spoke to Willie and he seemed really pleased to see me, and a lot of that was because of the fact that he knew that I had a major incident background, and he felt that this was a good result for him because he had someone there that he could bounce ideas off and discuss through the processes of what we were about to do for the day. Bearing in mind the incident was well underway and he had done an awful lot of really good work up to that particular point. So he was using me as a sounding board to say, has he covered everything? And he named off a number of roles and specific roles that he'd given people at the scene. However, one of those roles that he mentioned was body recovery, and he didn't have anyone tasked to that role. So therefore we spoke about the role, and I took on that challenge of dealing with the body recovery. I knew it would be a difficult role, but at the same time somebody had to do it, and I was there at that time and decided that that was the role for me at that particular day.
We'd all come in for an early turn. Our offices were at St Pancras, on the platforms at the far end, when it was just a normal railway station rather than it now. And we're in the office and radio was on. We heard there'd been a train crash at Ladbroke Grove. We're all mostly dressed anyway, so we heard the call, put up our assistants and left the office and made our way and picked up Willie Baker from the bottom office, who was the duty governor at the time.
One of the roles in British Transport Police that I've dealt with and many of our officers deal with on a regular basis is dealing with people who commit suicide on the railway. And therefore we do deal with a lot of body recovery situations. So body recovery wasn't new to me, however this was a bigger scale, and therefore there was a lot of trepidation, a lot of mixed emotions going on in my head about taking on this role. I was very conscious that there was more than just one individual going to be involved in this. There was numerous people that had died in this incident, and therefore someone had to lead that process and make sure that they had the team behind them that were going to do that.
No one can prepare you for what you expect at a train crash. What we saw when we arrived, obviously the first thing is preserving life. When we arrived on scene, we had a lot of, there's no training for that. Turning up at a scene, seeing a carriage in full flame. I think we turned up about 20-25 minutes after the actual crash. The emergency services already on site. Outside
the cordon, the inner cordon, there was a hive of activity. There was lots of people moving around, lots of discussions taking place. But as I say, my remit was to get down to the scene itself and be given a task. When I got to the scene itself, it was carnage. However, there was this eerie silence. Although there was lots of people moving about, there didn't seem to be an awful lot of noise. I don't remember there being a lot of noise, but there was a lot of carnage, a lot of twisted metal, a lot of rubble around the place. There was also a strong smell of diesel. There was smoke. Bearing in mind the train had been on fire. However, by the time I'd got there, the fire had gone out, but there was still a lot of smouldering rubble. So it wasn't a very pleasant scene for anyone to go to. But again, I had to stay focused. And sometimes remaining focused, one of the things I do when I deal with these incidents is not to sort of glare at things, not to stare, to take images in my mind, but actually just to get focus on the job and actually go and deal with it. So therefore the first thing I did was spoke to Willie Baker and actually got on with the job. I passed the body of the man who died. He got the wrong train. The person was on the wrong train, or he had an argument with his parents, or his wife, I think, or something like that day. And he was late for work and just got on the wrong train. I can understand their grief completely. I would feel like that as well. But sorry, I didn't check for life, but he passed away. Sorry. You become, I don't know, it's like bonded with the victims, I suppose. I don't know. You don't want anyone speaking about it outside the search team. No one really knows what it's like to actually search a scene of crime like that, or crime scene as it was at the time, like that, because you actually, the victims, you're finding their personal belongings, you're trying to do everything possible to make their families get everything they can back, which was the victims. It was difficult to actually speak to anybody who wasn't on the search teams about it. It was only the search teams that understood what was going on. The scene itself took just short of 2 weeks to clear. I remember my team and myself being there for, it was somewhere between 10 and 12 days. I can't exactly remember how long it was, but it was definitely more than 10 days. So it was between 10 and 12 days we were there, recovering evidence, recovering body, recovering property. Bearing in mind, we worked very closely with the BTP search team, who were down at the scene, working very closely, hand in hand, with the Metropolitan Body Recovery team, but also the BTP search team, who were there to recover personal property, secure evidence at the scene, but also recover evidence. So there was lots of work to be done, and it was evident we needed to make sure that was done professionally, and therefore we took our time, and it did take a long time. It was roughly about 2 weeks before the actual scene itself was closed down.
I'm in event planning now, so you never know when the next one's going to come up. But I think BTP as a whole are prepared to actually deal with any incidents that come up on the railway. We're very good at that. You know, the resources will be there as soon as possible, but whenever an incident turns up, BTP will always be there.
One thing I will say going forward is that the British Transport Police works very closely with the railway industry, as we always have done, but we seem to be a lot more joined up now in dealing with incidents which involved fatalities, which involved death. Thankfully, we've not had any really big incidents over the years, certainly into the 2000s. We've not had any real major incidents that to the same extent as Ladbroke Grove, and hopefully we will never have another one of those incidents, but we've got to be prepared.
We all got Chief Constable's commendations, which was given to us by Prince Charles. It was a ceremony over in London, over Kensington Way, I believe it was, and the force got recognised in the Pride of Britain Awards that year. It was a great honour for myself and Duncan to go down and collect the award of Tony Blair at the Pride of Britain Awards. We got nominated that year for it, along with the ambulance service and the fire brigade and the Sainsbury's. I think it was the Sainsbury's staff, which is the shopping, the big Sainsbury's that overlooked Ladbroke Grove. They were fantastic up top there, apparently. They'd done a hell of a lot of work. Yeah, and the Queen came down on site after about 7 days. Wanted to meet a few BTP officers and the other emergency personnel were there. And I was one of the lucky few that actually met the Queen. Don't ask me what she said, because I can't remember. It was just a case of I'm stood in front of the Queen, my God. But yeah, she came down on the site. She visited the site itself, and then we all met her in a hall down the bottom of the road. Yeah, you know, there is some recognition afterwards, but the recognition is for every officer. It wasn't just us who, yeah, we got the Chief Constable's commendations, but without the officers who was with us, you know, it wouldn't have worked. And the officers did as many hours as I did, and all the officers should have been recognised for doing a great job on the day, or for the next 10 days. It was, they did brilliantly. As a search team leader, I couldn't have asked anything more from my team anyway, all those officers who worked with me.